Fifth graders, hope you are having a great week, and we're going to get started this week on page 14. You'll notice that we skipped pages 12 and 13. They aren't lesson pages. They're pages that we could use if we were in a full group setting, if we want to play some songs for a concert. You can play them if you want. Some of them won't make any sense because they aren't going to sound like the melodies you're used to. So we don't really do anything with pages 12 and 13. We're going to go on to 14. And 14 talks about tied notes. And you'll notice in the yellowish, orangish box, gives you a definition of what a tie is. It shows you what it looks like. I think it looks like a smiley face. And it explains how they work. Basically, you take the notes that are tied together and you add their counts together. So they show you in the example a quarter note tied to a quarter note. Well, we know quarter notes are one count. 1 plus 1 equals 2. You can tie together any kind of note. Any kinds of notes can be tied together. So you'll look in 59, fit to be tied, and they have all quarter notes tied together. So 2 counts. Well, what other note is 2 counts? Half note, right. So if somebody was just listening to number 59, they would think you were playing half notes most of the time because those notes are all going to get 2 counts. If you look at 60, Alouetta, they tie half note to quarter note. Half note is 2, quarter note is 1, 2 plus 1 is 3. So you will hold that note for 3 counts. Now we haven't got to what a 3 count note is yet, if we were just to see one on its own, but guess what? There it is in the orange box, yellowish box below. A dotted half note gets 3 counts. Well, we know a half note gets 2 counts. And when you put a dot on a note, you'll see it tells you right there in the box, that adds half the value of the note. Well, what is half of a half note? Half of 2 is 1. So 2 plus 1 is 3. So when they want you to play a note for 3 counts, they're going to be able to do it 2 different ways. They're going to be able to write it as a dotted half note, or they're going to be able to write it as a half note tied to a quarter. And you should notice something when you look at 61, Alouetta, the sequel. Do you notice anything? Those 2 are exactly the same sounding. They've written them differently with using tied notes. But when you play them, 60 and 61 are going to sound exactly the same. Your family won't know if you're playing number 60 or your number 61 because those are going to sound exactly the same. Now, let's talk a little bit more about dotted notes because you can dot, like you can tie any kind of notes together, you can dot any note. Let's say you had a dotted whole note. Well, a whole note is 4. A dot adds half the value. What's half of 4? 2. 4 plus 2 is 6. So you would be holding that dotted whole note for 6 counts. You can also dot quarter notes, and we're going to do that later on in the book. Dotted quarter notes. A quarter note gets 1. Half of 1 is a half, so we'll be holding those notes for 1 1/2. We'll talk more about dotted quarter notes when we get to them in the book. Right now we're just dealing with dotted half notes. So when you are playing, some of the dotted quarter note or the dotted half note is going to sound just like the half note tied to the quarter. And the two quarter notes tied together are going to sound just like half notes. So this is more about how things look differently, how composers can write things differently, but they'll probably sound the same. Okay, let's get going with our play-alongs. Okay, trombones, just a reminder, you've already warmed up on your mouthpiece. You've already done some buzzing, tried to do some siren sounds. How are our siren sounds going, by the way? And we've already done our long tones and just playing long notes. And now we're ready to look at 59, fit to be tied. Remember, our quarter notes tied together are going to get 2 counts, so they're going to sound just like a half note. So let's look at positions. 1, 3, 1, 6, 4, 3, 1, 4, 1, 1, 3, 6, 6, 4, 6, 1. Okay, we have that rest in the middle. So use that to get yourself to 4th and be ready. And that's our higher 4, remember? Okay, I've got my metronome at 76 this week. Let's play Fit to be Tied. We start in 1. Remember, it is that upper one. Make sure we have a good M. Everything's pulled back. Lips together. Nice smiles. Here we go. So you'll notice I'm going to go a little bit faster on these exercises. You've already done 8th notes, which are quicker notes. This one doesn't have any 8th notes in it, so we're just going to do this one, this week, just a little bit quicker. Okay, 60, Alouette. Now we've got the half note tied to the quarter note. So those are going to get 3 counts. This one we don't use very many positions on. And so let's talk through them so you can see that. We start in 3. 3, 1, 4, 4, 1, 3, 1, 4, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 4, 1, 3, 1, 4, 3. So you should have noticed I only said 1, 3, and 4. Those are the only positions we're going to use for this. Now we're going to be using the highs and the lows of both of those, but we only need to worry about 1, 3, and 4. Make sure as the notes are going up, we're going to make sure that our air is really moving. Remember, that is the key, and that is the key to the upper notes. Not only having that nice firm embouchure, that nice firm M and smile, but lots of air. If you're struggling to get your upper shelves out, blow more air. Think about blowing if you have a music stand in front of you, blowing your music stand down, or blowing your wall down. I know a lot of you practice just in your rooms, and you may think you sound pretty loud and you're pushing lots of air, but you're in a little enclosed space. So you want to make sure, sometime maybe go practice outside when you're in that big wide open space, and you'll see how much air you really need to be blowing. Okay, now let's play number 60, Alouette. Gonna keep my metronome at 76. Everybody get out in third position. So we had both different ties in that one, didn't we? We had the half note tied to the quarter note, which gets 3 counts. And we had the quarter note tied to the quarter note, which gets 2 counts. Now, when we do 61, Alouette to the sequel, gonna sound the same. It just looks different to your eyes, but it sounds exactly the same. Here we go. Hear how that sounded exactly the same as 60? Yeah, it's just a different way to write it. Now, one thing we didn't talk specifically about, but you should notice from tied notes, we don't tongue the second note. We just add its counts on, okay? So your tongue does not become involved in the slur other than to start the beginning of it. We just blow through and hold it for however many counts are tied together. Okay, there you go. There's your assignment for the week. Tied notes. Add their counts together. Have a great week and see you next week.
3, 2,